Gabby. Welcome to my channel, Frog with a Blog. I'm so happy that you're here. Today's video is going to go over our Disney World trip day 2, which we went to Magic Kingdom. We did our midday break at our resort at the Art of Animation, and then we did EPCOT for the evening half of the day. To recap my part 1 video, it was our travel day, so flying Southwest into Orlando Airport, using mirrors, getting to our Art of Animation resort, and then exploring Disney Springs for the evening half of the day. So let's get into day 2. Day 2, we knew we were gonna do a lot of walking. I planned ahead just because we did have family joining us at Disney World and they were traveling in on this day 2. So just because they had children over the age of 3 and it was a larger group, just to cut costs, I just decided to do our lightning lanes on this day when it was just myself, my husband, my child, my mom, just to keep costs at a minimum for the group. Since if your child is under the age of 3, of course, they don't have to pay for a park ticket. And that also means that if you get lightning lanes, you don't have to pay for their tickets either. So that's great. And they can join you on rides that they meet the height requirements for. So for the lightning lanes, if you're staying at a Disney World resort, you can book them up to 7 days in advance of your park ticket. Or if you're not at a Disney World resort, you're an annual pass holder, you have a regular ticket or whatever, you can book it up to 3 days before. So staying at a resort, that is a perk that you get. And with the lightning lanes, whenever you are booking them, you'll book either the multi-pass, which lets you ride multiple rides with that. You can do the single pass, which is usually reserved for like the higher priority, high popularity rides like at Magic Kingdom Tron or the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And then they also have the Premier Pass, which is really expensive, but that is the lightning lanes, but on steroids. You don't have to worry about planning ahead and like winning the lottery or whatever on getting good times to ride the rides. You just literally go up to the Fast Pass or the lightning lane and you can just enter the queue for any ride instead of having a designated time slot. So those are the 3 type of lightning lanes that you can get. For the multi-pass, which is what we got, like I said, 7 days in advance for us since we were staying at a Walt Disney World resort. You can pick up to 3 rides during the initial booking max of a tier 1 ride, which are again the high popular rides. So for us, that was Peter Pan. And then you can pick 2 tier 2 rides, which for us, that was Haunted Mansion and Winnie the Pooh. So a good tip for this, although, you know, you can get wrapped up into the, oh, I need to get, you know, the lines that have, or the rides that have the longest lines. I went more based on what we would have the best times on and what my daughter might enjoy. They do have the rider swap. So if you do have a child that can't ride the ride, you can have, you know, one adult stand in line, go through the line, and then once they get to the front, they'll get a pass, I believe. So that way, when they ride the ride, they'll give that pass to the second adult or the other, you know, part of the group that couldn't join because they're watching the children, and then they can go through the lightning lane and get on the ride pretty instantly. So we didn't plan to do that for this trip, especially for this day with the lightning lane for day 2. So we just picked rides that my daughter could ride on and that everybody would have a good time. So didn't do Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I wasn't interested in that for this trip. So just to recap, we did Peter Pan. We got the time slot of 12:45. For Haunted Mansion, we got the time slot of 1:50. And then for Winnie the Pooh, we got 2:45. So they were kind of in the later part of the day, which I was fine with because I knew that we could knock out a lot of the, I wouldn't say less popular rides, but with getting there early enough, because another perk of staying at a Walt Disney World resort, you get early entry into the theme park. So if your park opened at 9 o'clock, so on our day, Magic Kingdom opened at 9 o'clock, we could get in and start riding rides at 8:30. And when I say get in, they do let you in to the Main Street Hub area earlier than that 8:30 time. I don't have the specifics on exactly what time they open it up, generally like an hour before opening, but you can at least get into the park and, you know, start taking your pictures with the castle before even that early entry starts. And then there'll be an area that's marked off and it'll, you know, have signs pointing for early entry guests. And they'll scan either your ticket or your magic band or your whatever you have, just to make sure that, you know, it's linked to your resort stay. So that way not just anybody can go to the early entry area. And then at 8:30, so for that day at 8:30, then they let the early entry people go get in line for rides. Be careful with that though, because not all rides allow for the early entry. So just do your research on that if that's something you're interested in. But for us, like I said, I just knew that I could knock out some of the earlier ones getting in, so that way we can cut down on our wait times, because my daughter was one. She didn't really know what she's doing. She just was there to have a good time. And then for us, like I said, we knew we had the certain times for the lightning lanes. I didn't have too high of expectations with what we would get after we rode those rides, because again, you can book up to 3 rides. But then after that, so after we rode our Peter Pan, we had a slot open up because we used one of our slots so I could pick another ride. I didn't really like the times that we saw, because with Winnie the Pooh ending at 2:45 and then just the number of rides we were able to do before, even riding Peter Pan at 12:45, I didn't really want to do them again. It was getting hot and tired. We needed a midday break, so I was fine with that. But I digress. To start our day, we woke up about 6:30. We weren't gonna rope drop per se, just because we had a child. We like sleeping a little bit, and I didn't really want to be the first ones walking through the gate, because that's really early. So we woke up at like 6:30, and then we left our room about 7:30. Typical morning times with children and family. So left our room about 7:30. My mom was having issues with her ECV, so she contacted the company, and they said that they could meet us at the front to switch out her scooter, so that way it was working for us for that day. So although we left the room at 7:30, we didn't actually get to line up for the buses until about 8 o'clock, 8:06. Which was fine. Again, we didn't have high expectations. The biggest thing we had was our lightning lane. Our first one was at 12:45, so anything before that was a win for us. So we did end up getting to Magic Kingdom at about 8:30, went through security. If you have things that set off the alarm, you will have to go to like a bag check line, which on that first day we did have to do that, and that was about an extra 10-ish, 15 minutes. So just keep that in mind. If you're planning to be at a certain ride at a certain time, you may get stopped. But for us, that was 10, 15 minutes. So we were in the park really good and past security at about 8:55, 9 o'clock. So we started with looking at the app to see what had the lowest wait time. So I'm looking, 5 minutes or less, 5-10 minutes or less. So I went to Dumbo. My daughter, my mom, and I rode that. Went to Ariel, rode that, had a blast. We went to the carousel, rode that, had a blast. We did eat lunch. I say lunch very lightly. It was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at that point. And most of that time was just sitting in the air conditioning, because it was Florida. Yeah, it was hot. It was about 80-ish, 80 or so degrees, and it was very humid. At least 70%, because every day that we were there did not get below 70%. I knew that for a fact. So it was pretty hot. So we did spend a good bit of that, because Cosmic Rays didn't open until a certain time. I want to say 10:30. So we sat in there for a good bit, let my daughter run around squealing, because she could walk and she loved to walk at that point. So let her walk around, change her diaper, relax, fed her. And then when they opened up, we ordered usual chicken tenders, fries, burgers, just to get a little regroup before our next set of things. So we went to the People Mover, since we were already over in Tomorrowland. And then after that, we did the Monsters Inc. Laugh Factory, or Laugh Floor. So that was fun. Air conditioning. Then at that point, it was already about time for a lightning lane for Peter Pan at 12:45. So walked over there. The line was really easy because it was a lightning lane, less than 5 minutes wait. So that was great. After Peter Pan, we still had a little bit of a wait time. So we went over to the Aloha aisle and got the pineapple Dole Whip. I thought it was pretty good. I got the float, and then my mom got the just the soft serve. I thought it was pretty good. Good. Got out the shade in a little small area right next to the stand, and then waited out our time until Haunted Mansion. Rode Haunted Mansion, no problem. I usually don't like scary things, but this ride is not scary, so don't be alarmed for anybody who doesn't like that type of thing. My daughter had a blast. She was perfectly fine in it as well, so definitely recommend Haunted Mansion. It was air conditioned and it was great. We still had time before our last lightning lane at 2:50 for Winnie the Pooh. So I knew I wanted to get her silhouette drawn on Main Street. So there's a cute little stand over off of Main Street if you're walking down it. So we went back there, stood in line to get the silhouette drawn. It was so cute. And then after that, since I did have to wait a little bit to get the silhouette drawn, it was about time for Winnie the Pooh. So we just walked back over to Winnie the Pooh, rode that, and then decided to call it quits and go back to Art of Animation for our midday break, since at that point it was already 3 o'clock. So we did our midday break back at our resort, and it was a pretty good break. Got to relax, get off our feet, and it was from about 3 to 7 back at the resort, relaxing, getting off our feet. But we knew for the second half of the day we wanted to go to EPCOT just to take a Skyliner over there, see what they had, especially because they had the World Showcase. So just to walk around the different countries, maybe try some different foods, just relax, see what they had. So we left our room at about 7 o'clock and headed to the Skyliner. If you do need a handicap accessible gondola, they do have a line for the handicap, and you can have people join you in that line. So you don't have to just ride it by yourself. With that, like for our group, my mom was in the ECV, and then we also had our daughter in our single stroller. So we did have to fold up the stroller so that way we could fit in the gondola with my mom, since it's only so wide, which is understandable. But yes, there are separate lines for the handicap accessible, because they will stop the gondola for, I believe it's 60 seconds. Like it'll be at a complete stop for just that handicap line, and then it'll like filter in with the other gondolas. So from Art of Animation Pop Century, you'll take that Skyliner to Caribbean Beach, and then from there you'll get on one to either EPCOT or Hollywood Studios. We went to EPCOT. So you'll take that one and it'll go to the Riviera. You don't have to get off at the Riviera. It'll just kind of slow down and your doors will open. If you don't want to get off, you don't have to get off, and then it'll close. Getting to EPCOT, like I said, we were just gonna walk around, nothing too crazy. Just look around, see what they had, maybe get some food. For the World Showcase, they do have 7 countries, I believe. So we started at France and then just walked in the circle till we got back to the Skyliner. And that was fun. It was a relaxed time. Took some pictures with the PhotoPass people, and we left EPCOT at about 8:30, so we didn't stay too long. Just about an hour and a half of getting from the Skyliner to EPCOT and coming back. So not too long of a trip, just because we knew we already had a long day. In total, for day 2, we walked over 7 miles. So very long, very tiring day in 80-degree weather and 70% humidity. So that was our first day. We were back at the room by 9, so nothing, I would say, too crazy. I do recommend the lightning lanes. It was a game changer, especially for the days coming up. And looking back on it, I'm like, I'm glad that I did the lightning lanes on that first day, just so that way I can get everything I wanted to do out of the way, so that way for the rest of the trip I wasn't anxious on like, oh, I really hope I can do this, just in case, you know, with small children things change, you may not be able to do it, so you don't want to leave disappointed. So I'm glad I was able to get everything I wanted to do out of the way first, so that way then it opened up the rest of my trip to be relaxed. I'm like, yeah, whatever happens, happens. I already did what I wanted to do, so that was good. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and stay tuned for the next videos for our following days. Thanks, y'all.